In less than 3 years, Mrs. Johnson has followed her husband into the land unseen. Will their work live on? Will the institution hold faith with their ideals and beliefs?
These were questions knowingly penned by Alva Ross Brown, that hard-working assistant the Johnsons came to regard as the son they never had. No one could have known what part this young man would play in the history of the college.
I write this to introduce to you my helper and successor as president of Johnson Bible College when I have departed to be with Christ. His understanding of the New Testament and the ideals of the college are identical to the founders.
Emma and Ashley knew Brown very well. They thought so highly of him, and clearly that was reciprocal. Brown spoke so highly of Emma.
He began working in the office with the Johnsons, began taking on more and more responsibility. Emma clearly from the beginning saw Alva Ross Brown as her successor. Even though he was very, very young, 21 years old when he was appointed the president, not everyone, of course, saw the logic in the appointment of Alva Ross Brown as president, even to the point that the trustees first of all went to Alva Ross Brown and asked him to decline. And so really over the protests, Brown accepted the presidency and became, again, what we believe to be the youngest president of a college university in the history of American education, higher education.
The challenges of this transition were compounded by the onset of the Great Depression, which greatly reduced the college's income through the 30s.
There were times when faculty members did not get paid, and so the fact that this was really a self-sufficient farm really helped see through many of the difficulties of the Great Depression.
Most of us have our difficulties in trying to keep an eye single to His will, but there is comfort in remembering His infinite compassion and love.
Amidst these struggles, Brown improved academics and expanded student life. But these years weighed on the young president's spirit and health. He was often seen walking the campus at night, looking prayerfully at the lights from the hill.
Without prayer, I would not want to do the work I am doing. These buildings, the men, might be here without prayer, but I would not.
A leaking heart valve caused Brown's health to decline. At first, he showed signs of improvement, but then died suddenly of heart failure in 1941 at only 35 years of age. His close friend and Johnson trustee, Dr. Robert M. Bell, spoke at his funeral.
I had thought that the time would come when I should put out to sea, and Alva Ross Brown would be standing by the water's edge. But it is I who stand at the water's edge and say to you who knew him and loved him, weep not.
Over the years, Dr. Bell had distinguished himself as a student, professor, and trustee at Johnson. The character and abilities he had demonstrated led the board to select him as the school's new president.
When I accepted the presidency, I firmly resolved that whatever happens, I will not worry. But within a week, my resolution was badly bent. Within a month, it was battered and broken. The trouble? Debts. Bills, 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 and no money to pay them.
When Dr. Bell became the president in 1941, the debt itself was about $50,000. And if you put that in 2017 terms, that would be over $650,000 in debt. And so it was seemingly insurmountable.
Aided by Bell's knowledge of economics, the school's overdue accounts had been erased by the end of his first year. But much work lay ahead. A light in Bell's office window was often seen burning late into the night.
When Bell was an economics professor at UT, he did these what we would call today workshops or seminars for local bankers. He had access to resources, so he used that access to be able to borrow money judiciously, to consolidate debt, to pay off debt. And then the other part is he believed that the alumni needed to play a much stronger role in helping the school's finances.
Once finances stabilized, a gym, student housing, a chapel, and a new library were designed by Bell and built largely through the work-study program. His efforts didn't merely keep the school's torch burning, but helped it burn brighter as a
preacher training institution in a preacher growing atmosphere.
One of Dr. Bell's greatest achievements was the expansion of the faculty. He hired several faculty members who served long tenures and were very influential, not only in their service to the college, but their service to the kingdom.
Academic growth under Dr. Bell, of course, the first and from a long-term perspective, most important was that the school went co-educational. There were a few programs for women, and of course that opened the door for more programs for women down the road.
As Johnson's light burned brightly, Dr. Bell's light dimmed suddenly. Just before the 1968 homecoming, he suffered a heart attack. During the Thursday afternoon session, his daughter Betty stepped forward.
My father was a marvelous man, and he was fully dedicated to Johnson Bible College, and he worked hard, and he did what the Lord wanted him to do. And it's the end of an era. It was a marvelous era, and I'm glad to have been a part of it.
Alva Ross Brown died without naming a successor, and so it fell really for the first time to the trustees. One of the trustees was a man by the name of S.S. Lappin. He was a very well-known evangelist, educator. Everybody just assumed that he would become the next president. Lappin was going to nominate Dr. Robert M. Bell. He knew Bell would decline the nomination, and then one of the other trustees was supposed to nominate Lappin, and then they would all vote Lappin in as the president. It went according to plan, and then it was R.M. Bell who pointed out that the bylaws that the trustees were bound to follow indicated that the president of Johnson must be a graduate of Johnson, and S.S. Lappin was not. And so it came back around to Dr. Bell. So Dr. Bell then accepted the nomination and then was appointed the president of Johnson Bible College.